Tell me which justices are for sale.
I don't recall that tweet, but
Here it is. November 21, 2022. Can you tell me which justices are for sale?
No.
Are any of them for sale?
No, the problem is that the American public has a perception that some justices may be.
I'm going to establish the point first. I want to know. You tweeted this out. Do you believe that some justices are for sale? And if so, which ones?
No, Senator, I do not believe that justices are for sale.
Then why'd you tweet this out?
What can you provide more context of what that is?
I'll get you a copy, but here it is. I checked it and triple checked it. You also said less than a month ago that John Roberts, you retweeted this out. John Roberts is a disgrace.
What's going on, Patriots? Welcome back to Right View Nation, where we call it like we see it, stand up for the Constitution, and refuse to bow to the woke mob and their twisted narratives. Today's video? Oh, buckle up, because we've got one of our favorites, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana, delivering a masterclass in common sense, straight talk, and calling out hypocrisy right to its smug little face. This wasn't just another boring Senate hearing. No, sir. This was a much-needed reality check, aimed directly at the left-wing activists who are trying to delegitimize the Supreme Court. Because get this, they don't like how the justices rule. Yeah, that's what this is really about. Let's break it all down.
Chairman, and thanks to all of our witnesses who have joined us today. Mr. Payne, let me start with you, sir. You're kind of in the middle here. You work for the Campaign Legal Center, is that right?
That's correct.
Is your website campaignlegal.org?
Correct.
Okay. Does not the front page of your website say, I'm going to quote here, I want to get it right, the current U.S. Supreme Court is a threat to our democracy. The current U.S. Supreme Court is a threat to our democracy. Did I read that right?
What I can say is that our organization...
But is that on your website?
I am not certain exactly what's on the website.
Here it is, right here,
Okay.
big as Dallas.
What that refers to is the voting rights voting rights cases of the Supreme Court. Our organization is a voting rights organization that fights for all Americans to have the ability to vote.
Yeah, but you got to click a bunch of times to find that explanation. I just want to make sure I read that correctly. A few months ago, Mr. Payne, you retweeted the following statement. Some justices are politicians in robes who thrive in a system where access and influence are for sale. Some justices are politicians in robes who thrive in a system where access and influence are for sale. Now, that's a pretty bold statement.
I'm sorry, Senator, is that a news article?
No, sir. That's a retweet here. You tweeted this out. Tell me which justices are for sale.
I don't recall that tweet, but...
Here it is. November 21, 2022. Can you tell me which justices are for sale?
No.
Are any of them for sale?
No, the problem is that the American public has a perception that some justices may be.
I'm going to establish the point first. I want to know, you tweeted this out. Do you believe that some justices are for sale? And if so, which ones?
No, Senator, I do not believe that justices are for sale.
Then why'd you tweet this out?
What can you provide more context of what that is?
I'll get you a copy, but here it is. I checked it and triple checked it. You also said less than a month ago that John Roberts, you retweeted this out. John Roberts is a disgrace.
No, I
disagree with Justice Roberts. Well, you didn't call him Chief Justice Roberts. You called him John Roberts.
No, this is,
Or
that's,
you retweeted this?
no, Senator, I did not retweet that.
Yes, sir, you did, right here.
I will
As
need
big
to
as
see,
Dallas.
can you provide a copy to me
Sure,
now? But
sure.
I did not retweet
Can you
that.
tell me why you think Chief Justice Roberts is a disgrace?
I did not say that, did not retweet that.
Oh, okay. Maybe Twitter got it wrong.
Someone got it wrong.
Let me ask you this, because the unstated premise of all this, sometimes it's stated, but the unstated premise of all this is that some justices have been bribed. Let's just cut to the chase. Okay? Now, let me stay with you, Mr. Payne. Well, no, let me go to Mr. Fogel. I don't want to just pick on you, Mr. Payne. You can be looking up on Twitter where you said those things. On April 4th, 2019, the American Civil Liberties Union paid for Justice Sotomayor's trip to San Juan, Puerto Rico. You ever been to San Juan, Mr. Fogel? Is it expensive?
I keep forgetting. Well, it depends when you go.
Yeah. How much you think it costs to go down there?
Depends whether you fly first class or economy.
What if you fly first class?
Oh, probably a couple $1,000s
Okay.
Yeah.
The ACLU, do they have cases in front of the Supreme Court?
all the time.
They do, all the time?
Sure.
Do you think the ACLU was trying to bribe Justice Sotomayor?
No, sir, I don't.
I don't either. But that's the unstated premise of all of this.
Well, Senator, if I
All
may,
these articles about Justice Clarence Thomas and the Chief Justice in the United States and Justice Gorsuch, who sold an interest in an LLC to a Democratic donor who had never met, that they bought him, isn't it?
may I say something in
Of
response,
course.
Senator? I think there are two things going on here today. I think there is a political conflict, which is, as I said earlier, it's very intense. It's hyper-partisan. Both sides have things to say. And then I think there's an ethical issue.
When you accuse people of being bribed, it kind of
I'm not accusing.
gets their attention.
Sir, hold on a second. I'm not accusing anybody of being bribed. I'm not.
But some people are.
Some people are. The reason I'm here is I think that there is an ethical issue that, as Senator Graham said earlier, it would be good for the court to think about in terms of being more transparent. That is what I care about. That's the only thing I care about. There's a lot of political back and forth that's very interesting. I'm very interested in it as a citizen of the United States. But I think the most useful thing that this or any other committee could do is think about how do we make our institutions...
Well, how are you going to do that in the context, though, of one of our leaders, for whom I have great respect, going on the steps of the United States Supreme Court, telling two justices if they vote in a way he doesn't like, they will pay the price and reap the whirlwind. And you have another one of your witnesses here tweeting out stuff saying, quote, some justices are politicians in robes who thrive in a system where access and influence are for sale.
Yep.
He said they were bought like a sack of potatoes.
Okay, I'm not going to comment on that, Senator. That's not anything I had anything to do with. So,
Did I hear the gavel?
I think you
I
did.
hope. Thank you, Senator Kennedy. Senator Hirono? I'm sorry, I got it wrong. Blumenthal. Senator Blumenthal.
Chairman,
Did you
and
hear
thanks
that?
to all of our witnesses
The U.S. Supreme Court was a
who have
threat to our
joined us
democracy.
today.
That's not a headline from a far-left blog. That's from a
Mr.
so-called
Payne,
nonpartisan organization
Let me
called the
start with
Campaign
you,
Legal
sir.
Center.
You're kind of in the middle.
And the guy in the hot seat, Mr. Payne,
You work for
this
the
man works for an
Campaign
organization
Legal
that flat
Center.
out
Is
smears
that
the
right?
highest
That's
court
correct.
in our land as a threat
Is
to
your-
democracy. Now let me ask you, who's really threatening democracy here?
campaignlegal.org
Is it the
Correct.
justices who interpret the Constitution as written?
does not
Or is it the
front
radical left
page
who
of
scream
your
illegitimate every time a decision doesn't go their
website
way?
say, I'm going to quote
Boom.
here, I want to get
There it
it
is.
right.
Senator Kennedy
The
reads a tweet
current
Payne shared. Some justices
US
are
Supreme
politicians in
Court
robes
is a
who thrive in a
threat
system where access and influence
to
are
our
for sale.
democracy.
And then what happens? Payne
The
squirms,
current
backpedals,
U.S.
pretends like he
Supreme
doesn't
Court
remember.
is a threat
Classic.
to our democracy.
Folks, this is what
Did
the
I read
left
that
does.
right?
They toss out baseless accusations.
What I can say is that
poison
our
the public perception of
organization-
But is that on your
institutions they don't
website?
control.
I am not certain
And
exactly
then
what's
when
on
you
the
Here
hold
it
website.
their
is,
feet
right
to the
here,
fire,
big as Dallas.
they duck and dodge like it's
What that
dodgeball
refers
in
to is
middle
the
school.
voting rights legislation,
If you
I
truly
mean, voting
believed
rights
what you
cases
tweeted,
of the Supreme
Mr.
Court.
Rye,
Our
Payne, you'd have the
organization
spine
is
to
a
say it
voting
with your
rights
chest in front of
organization
Congress.
that fights
But
for
no,
all
when pressed,
Americans to have the
suddenly
ability
it's
to vote.
I don't recall.
Yeah,
or
but you
can I
got
see
to
the
click
context?
a bunch of times to find that
Context.
explanation. I just want to
Context?
make sure.
You said the justices were
I
for
read
sale.
that
What more
correctly.
context do you need? And this one's
A
just
few months
chef's kiss.
ago,
Senator Kennedy calls him out again,
Mr. Payne,
this
you
time for retweeting a post that calls
retweeted the
Chief
following
Justice John
statement.
Roberts a disgrace. And what does Payne say?
some
tweet that.
justices
Oh, really? So now Twitter just
are
randomly assigns your
politicians
name to
in
posts.
robes
Give me a
who
break.
thrive in a
These people have
system
no
where
accountability.
access
They shoot their
and
mouths off online for
influence
social
are
clout.
for
But when
sale.
it comes time to back it up, they melt faster than a
some
snowflake
justices
in July.
are politicians in
Now
robes
let's get real. Kennedy brings up a
who
legitimate
thrive in a
point here.
system
Justice
where
Sotomayor had a trip
access
paid for by the
and
ACLU, an
influence are
organization
for
that
sale.
regularly brings cases before the court.
Now that's a
Now
pretty
Kennedy,
bold statement.
being the gentleman that he is,
I'm
says
sorry,
flat
Senator,
out,
is that a news
I don't
article?
think it's bribery.
No, sir.
And neither
that's
do
a
I.
that's a retweet.
But here's
here.
the kicker.
You tweeted
Why is this
out.
never the headline?
Tell me
Why
which
isn't CNN
justices
running
are for sale.
stories about it every hour on the hour?
I don't recall that tweet,
Because
but
it doesn't fit the
Here it
narrative.
is.
The left only cries
November
corruption when it's a
21,
conservative justice like Clarence
2022.
Thomas
Can
or
you
Neil Gorsuch.
tell me which
They
justices
turn a
are for
blind eye
sale?
to everything else. And oh boy, this
no.
one gets my blood boiling.
Are any of them
Kennedy
for sale?
reminds us of when Chuck
No, the
Schumer,
problem
yes,
is that the
Senate
American
Majority
public
Leader,
has a
stood
perception
on the
that
steps
some
of
Yeah, but
Justice
justices
I
may
wanna-
Court
I
and
wanna
threatened
establish the
Justices
point
Kavanaugh
first.
and
I wanna
Gorsuch
know-
by name.
You
Said they
tweeted
would
this
reap
out.
the whirlwind if they didn't
Do you
rule the way he
believe
wanted.
that some
Folks, that's
justices
not
are for
democracy.
sale?
That's not checks and balances.
And if so, which
That's
ones?
mob rule.
No,
what
Senator, I do
banana
not believe
republics
that
do.
justices are
Then
for
why'd you
sale.
If
tweet
you
this
ask
out?
me,
What can you
that's the
provide
real
more
threat to
context of what
democracy.
that is?
Sure,
that tweet?
I'll get you a
Look, this whole
copy, but here
performance
it
from the
is.
left smearing
Okay.
justices,
checked it and
casting
triple
doubt
checked
on the
it. You
court's
also
integrity,
said
spreading
less than a
conspiracies on
month
social
ago
media
that
is all about one thing.
John Roberts, you
Power.
retweeted this out.
They don't want a
John
court
Roberts
that's
is a
neutral.
disgrace.
They want a court that rubber stamps
No,
their
I
radical
Kind of
agenda.
disagree with
And if they can't get that,
with Justice
they'll
Roberts. Well, you didn't
delegitimize
call
it,
him Chief
intimidate
Justice
it,
Roberts.
and
You
tear
called
it
him
down.
John Roberts.
That's why they
No,
scream
this is-
about
that's-
ethics
you
while ignoring
retweeted
their
this.
own
No,
side's
Senator, I
behavior.
did not retweet that.
But we
Yes,
see
sir,
through
you
it.
did right here.
I will
It's
need
big
to
as
see.
Dallas.
I will.
We've got
Can you
people like
provide a
Senator
copy to
John
me now?
Kennedy
But
sharp
I
as
did
a
not.
tack.
Can you tell me
No
why you think
nonsense and full of good
Chief
old-fashioned
Justice
common
Roberts
sense.
is a disgrace?
Who's willing to
I
stand
did not
up
say
and
that.
say,
Did not retweet that.
enough is enough.
Oh, okay.
So here's the
Maybe-
deal,
maybe
Patriots.
Twitter got
If
it
we want to
wrong.
preserve
Someone
the
got it wrong.
integrity of our institutions,
Let me ask
we
you
need
this,
more
because
voices
the
pushing back
unstated,
against this
the
garbage.
unstated
We can't
premise
let
of
these
all
activist
this,
groups,
sometimes
these
it's
leftist
stated, but
operatives, and
the
their media
unstated
allies
premise of
destroy
all,
every
all
pillar
this
of our
is that,
republic just because
is
they
that
lost
some
a few court
justices
cases.
have been bribed.
You want ethics?
Let's just cut
Start
to
by
the
being
chase.
honest. You want transparency?
Okay.
Stop lying on social media.
Now,
You want credibility? Try standing on
let me
principle,
stay
not
with
just
you,
politics.
Mr. Payne.
If you're fired up like I am, hit that like button, subscribe to Right View Nation,
Well,
and drop
you know,
a comment
let
below
me go
telling
to
me
Mr.
what you
Fogel.
think about
I
this
don't wanna
shameless
just pick on
attack
you,
on our
Mr.
Supreme
Payne.
Court.
You can
And hey,
you can be looking
share
up
this
on Twitter.
video. Let's
where you
make
said
sure the
those
truth
things.
travels farther than the left's lies. Until next time, stay strong, stay free, and as always, God bless America.